Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining another episode of Wildlife with Ray. Today I'm taking you back into the forests of New Jersey, this time northern New Jersey, where I'm going to photograph a whole bunch of different warbler species compared to the last episode of this show that was done in southern New Jersey. And it's pretty wild. That's one of the amazing things about New Jersey as far as breeding songbirds and warblers specifically, is it's kind of right on the border. So it's the northernmost range, like breeding range, of a lot of southern species, and then it's the southernmost range of a lot of northern breeding species, especially when you get up into the more mountainous areas of New Jersey, which is kind of in the northwest corner of the state, and then everything else I would do is kind of in the southern central portion of the state. But between those two areas, I think you can get something like 22, 23 different breeding species of warbler in New Jersey alone. So it really was just great for the diversity like that. And so, yeah, this is going to be the later portion of the spring. So we're talking end of April, or actually more like just beginning of May into mid-May, something like that. It can stretch into the end of May sometimes. But I would usually kind of start noticing things slowing down by the end of May. So most of the time I was concentrating on that mid portion of the month, and things were really amazing up there. So let's take a look at some of these photos. Here's a handful of my favorites from my time up there, but we'll go through and take a look at everything that I shot that particular year. So this was the spring of 2023. And starting off the season with some black-throated greens. Those were usually pretty early to arrive up there. And let's see, what dates was this? So this was starting May 7th, actually. And so that's when I started with these black-throated greens up there. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I was actually up with a good friend of mine, Ray G, who also used to do the podcast with me. And yeah, we had a great time with these black-throated greens. And then I had a surprise. This lake, I went to this one area, a new area. I'd never been up there, so that was an important thing for me. Every year I was always trying to add new areas. Instead of just going to my go-to spots, which I would always try and, pardon the pun, branch out and see if I could find something else. And so this particular year, I did find this other area, and it was decent for warblers, nothing amazing, but there was this one little pond, and for I think it was like 2 or 3 mornings I had there, these common mergansers were out there. And this one particular day, the mood and the light were incredible. So let me bring the settings up just so you guys can see what I was shooting these photos at. But this bird, he started out way on the other end of the lake. He definitely was aware of me as I showed up that particular morning. But I stayed put and didn't move much, kind of stayed hidden. There was like a bit of a slope that I was able to hide behind and shoot sort of water level there, which is really nice because I didn't have to do the awkward lay down kind of thing. But the mood with the fog, the habitat in the background was just absolutely stunning, and by far some of my favorite photos of this particular species that I've ever photographed. And it was when I was out trying to photograph warblers. So I did a bunch of different things with the fog, and then eventually, this is another favorite. I just love the spring growth that's happening back there, and the way the scene lays out there with that at 220 millimeter. And then he started swimming closer, and I was able to end up getting like almost a frame-filling portrait of him before he kind of swam away again, starting to play with like these more dead trees in the background there. And then I think it was all the same morning. Oh, you know what? I'm trying to think. I may have left and shot some other stuff and come back, or the sun popped out. One of the two. I can't remember which. Let's see what happens here. Looks like the sun came out while I was there. So while I was there, the sun eventually cleared the trees, started burning through the fog, and then I noticed all these grasses on this sort of slope like I was talking about, I was hiding behind. And so if you can imagine, there was like the lake was here, and then it sort of, the shoreline came up and then sloped way down. So it was like this built up berm, and it was obviously a man-made lake. It was dammed off kind of thing. And so I think, people had built up this sort of berm to keep the lake intact there, keep everything in that pond. And I was able to just kind of go down on the back side of that slope and shoot through all these grasses, and that's what allowed me to get this look. And the sun was shining off these grasses. They were dew covered from all the fog that was moving around, and it's just like the bokeh was incredible through it. So I had an absolute blast photographing this common merganser with this incredible foreground and background. It was just such a beautiful scene. And so I shot it as many different ways as possible. This is definitely a favorite right there. I love like the way it all kind of frames around it, and then the trees back there. I've shared 1 or 2, maybe 3 of these photos tops, but I think this is one I've shared before in the past, but I never shared them all, because while they are different and unique, which is what I try to do in each photo, instead of shooting the same thing, they're all similar enough. I just never shared too many of them. But yeah, what an encounter. And here's a great one that really shows off the grasses, and that bokeh just leads you right back to that bird. So yeah, what an incredible encounter. And then I continued back and started chasing these warblers again. So this was another thing I was doing this year, and I think the year prior I had started trying to do this, which was to shoot straight up at birds and trying to find interesting leaf patterns and shapes and everything. And I never really got kind of, I wanted to put together sort of a series of them, which I never really did. I've never shot enough of them, but it was fun to keep trying, and it's something that I'll continue to do down the road whenever I spend some more time with warbler photography. But this hooded warbler, which I believe this was a hooded warbler right there, he finally came down and he gave me this shot, 100mm, incredible stump. Again, just really nice mood. There was a little bit of a lens flare coming in here that I had to work on in post to kind of tame it. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite in habitat shots of this species for sure. Yellow warbler out on some cattails. This was back at that lake where the common merganser was. And so I was able to get him there. There's tons of yellow warblers in that area. I remember that. And then this was all from a lesson. I was trying to video and photograph Louisiana water thrush for a lesson. And so there's actually, in these photos from this set that I'm going to show you guys today, there's 2 lessons that I shot. So if you head on over to, just go to learnwildlifephotos.com, and that's going to take you to this page here on my website, or just go to my website and go to learn wildlife photography. And if you head down to songbirds here, this section, you can see all the lessons down here, by the way. You can just view them all. But if you want to see individual types of birds, go to the songbirds one here. And this Louisiana water thrush, this is a lesson that shows you what I'm about to show you right now. And then this spring songbirds in New Jersey also shows you. And guys, this is me. You get to watch me in the field shooting, narrating exactly what I'm doing. You see through the viewfinder as I'm shooting, and you get to see a wide view of the habitat as well. So you basically get to see exactly how I'm capturing these photos, and then you get to see me edit them as well. But in any case, back to the photos here. It started out, even though I was chasing Louisiana water thrush, I got this hermit thrush that was, veery. That was really, really good that particular morning. And so I photographed him a handful of different ways there, using some foreground and stuff like that, which was really fun. And then just getting him out on these rocks and boulders as it foraged around the ground. And then I eventually did find a Louisiana water thrush and was able to get some decent photos of that bird as well. One of the stars of northern New Jersey, the cerulean warbler, loved photographing them. And just like I talked about last week on the video, I did keep playing around with this 105mm f1.4 lens of Emily's that we no longer have. Instead, we now have the 135-1.8, which is in similar vein, but just a beautifully shallow depth of field lens, and allows you to really shoot some low ISOs and high shutter speeds, even when it's not that bright of a light, because it's such a fast aperture lens. But it does give a bit of a unique look with the smaller in frame stuff. Here's a handful of photos shot with that. And getting within that 100mm range is not the easiest with all of these species. Back to the 100 to 400 here. Here's another veery in the forest there. Just trying to play with some different compositions with them. And then back to the cerulean. I remember this guy, just incredible. This is it's a black walnut tree, if I'm not mistaken. And these guys, these trees in the spring sprout out these beautiful kind of these stalks and leaves, and the way this opens up, it always has like this reddish color, and it's a standout plant in the forests of northern New Jersey for sure. And I love trying to photograph something on this. So this guy came in, he got tangled up in some of the spider webs. He was feeding on the end of this. He was pulling stuff out of there, and in fact, you can see right here, he ended up getting this caterpillar that he pulled out of the leaves there, and ends up slamming it against this log. I mean, just brutal. You can see this is all just kind of guts and maybe a little bit of water on the exterior of that caterpillar, but that caterpillar did not make it very long after the cerulean warbler got it. So really, really cool to see that behavior, and the lighting could not have been better. Just this beautiful soft backlit glow through the forest was really, really cool. And then here's some softer areas, but you can see how beautiful that plant is. I just love trying to get these guys anything on this. It would have been nice without that big trunk back there, but you know, can't nail them all. Same area, that same day, same morning, photographed this red-eyed vireo, came down pretty low, and I played around with some shorter focal length stuff with him, and then also some of the longer stuff on those walnut branches as well. This was this beautiful boggy area in the area I work there that just had like a beautiful sunrise, so just grabbed a cell phone shot of that, and then walked down deeper into the hemlock forest to get these guys, these black-throated green warblers, and another star of the show. This is the other one of the top birds that people wanted to see when I took them out, was the cerulean and these Blackburnian warblers. Just absolute stunners of the forest, that's for sure. So photographing them, some black-throated greens, and then back out to another area with this beautiful lake. I ended up staying up in this area a couple times. I was able to park there and stay, which was really nice, so I could just wake up and be right there. And yeah, here's me just waking up in the morning, getting some of that first light out, recording one of these other lessons. And this was some of the photos I got from it. So this is a blue-winged warbler. I tried playing with it, just a couple different versions. I rarely do black and white, but there was something like graphically neat about this one that I thought it was kind of cool to do that with. So there's the original shot. And then let's see, just waiting for the computer to catch up here. Here we go, this beautiful blue-winged warbler. I remember he dropped right in near me. He really stayed far away for a long time. You can actually see I was shooting at 560 millimeter here. And then eventually, I think I was doing a lot of sort of like pishing noises where you just kind of make that psh, psh, psh noise. And he eventually got curious enough and came flying right over towards me, landed on this branch, and I ended up shooting some foreground to get that. And then a Baltimore Oriole dropped in on one of these further away branches as well, which is really cool. Ended up getting an orchard Oriole. Tried my best to do some framing in there. Not the best perch, but that's why I left it a little bit smaller and tried to just use some of those trees for some framing elements there. Eastern kingbird out on some beautiful light with just a clean high key background. And then this happened. So yeah, I got a few videos over here. I forgot. Let's see. Let's start with this one here showing you the that area of the lake with this deer. So check this out. Beautiful morning this morning. And check this out. Look at that. Deer just out here feeding. Right on the water's edge. Guess he's had enough. So that was the setup there. Pretty cool, right? And so let's take a look at some of the photos. So I did have the 400mm prime on that particular morning. And so I was just playing with some foreground stuff, just trying to compose something interesting with that reflection. The water was so calm, and it had that like a real thin layer of mist hanging on it, which was really, really neat. So I played with composing the deer higher in the frame, lower in the frame, that sort of thing. And then right near there, shortly after that, I had this orchard Oriole, or I'm sorry, this one's Baltimore, just coming in and grabbing some nesting material. They would just strip this stuff off of the bark to use, which was really, really neat. So that was fun. Ended up getting this Eastern kingbird with some of my favorite lighting, like incredible, right? The background was, so behind the bird on the other side of the lake was getting hit with the early morning sun. Then my entire side plus the bird were in shade. So the bird was out in this wide open, this perch out in the middle of this pond was out in the wide open shade. And then this was all foreground stuff, just kind of in the forest under the canopy a little bit. It was a little bit darker. And so I found this nice little pocket to shoot through and was able to get that. And this is another photo that's really fun to watch me sort of see this happen, move around and figure it out. And then you get to see through the lens exactly what it looks like as I captured and photographed that. And then I had this surprise. I was walking back to the car. It was basically the end of the shoot that morning. And then saw this bobcat just walking towards me, and only got a couple of shots before it took off, but just always really neat to see something like that. And so let me pop back to just a couple more videos here just to show you some different habitat up in the area. Hey, what's up everyone? Taking a little break while I'm out scouting today. Look what I found. Not a bad spot to hang out. It's like mossy shoreline. Just a beautiful spot and a beautiful day. Hope you're all having a great day. So there's that one. And then I'll show you guys one more video here. This was from just walking around the forest, scouting some new areas, and was able to come across this. Female cerulean down here on the ground, I think getting ready to drink. Yeah, look at that. Ooh, little bat. So cool. So needless to say, you can see with that habitat like that, no way I was getting any good photos there. It's just kind of a mess around there, but just incredibly cool to see that bathing behavior like that. And female cerulean warblers are hard to come by. I don't see them very often at all because they're pretty quiet. You know, kind of the same with all these species. You see way less females. All right, so after that bobcat, I was able to get this yellow warbler in that area. And then I think probably the next day here working with a black and white warbler and some more challenging and harsh light, but still trying my best to do something with that. So photographing the bird in shade with that bright sun in the background. Black-throated green, doing some fun stuff and some cool habitat there. This is when I was playing with that 105mm lens again. In fact, yeah, I guess all of these are 105mm right there with that f1.4 shallow depth of field look. And it is a unique look, that's for sure. So it does some cool stuff like that. That's pretty neat. But this doesn't have, to me, that much of a different look of a longer lens, you know, just because it's such a shallow depth of field. So an interesting lens to play with for sure, but you know, just sometimes it just makes things more challenging, but sometimes that's part of the fun, you know. Back to a longer focal length here with this blue-wing warbler, some more black-throated greens up in there, and then this prairie warbler was just incredible. I remember this individual. Beautiful open field spot, so classic prairie warbler habitat that I would find in northern New Jersey. I had this wide open field. This one particular branch was just curving over like that, and it had that vivid red stalk on it. And so, yeah, when he came down and perched there just like that for us, nice and close, me and the client, she was thrilled. We got some great shots of this guy there. I zoomed out so you could see kind of the full arch of that perch there, the way it was just hanging, that vine kind of hanging over there. So there's the 400mm shot, there's the 170mm shot. So kind of neat that you can do all that really quick without the bird really moving much. Ended up getting some backlit stuff as well in this flowering field, which was really neat. So just a really fun individual, and then some a little bit more dramatic side light kind of stuff. So nice diversity with that guy. This one, I'm guessing, just based on the shape, looks like an ovenbird. Yep, there we go, ovenbird. So just a silhouette of one of those guys. And again, getting into that harsher light, this is the kind of stuff I start doing. So this looks like a black-throated green. I'm just trying to silhouette them against these brighter little pockets in the background. Here's one that got real friendly. It came in really close. Geez, 400mm, just practically filling the frame with this fella. I mean, that's really nice when they come in that close. Back to that 105mm lens, playing with this Blackburnian warbler. I remember this individual, he was really, really fun. I had a client with me that had never seen these guys before, and so was able to get her a view of these guys just like this, point blank. He was right there, able to get some really, really fun shots. It came down on these rocks, eye level, feeding on the rocks, just like that. Just some really, really fun stuff. So a great time playing with that 105mm lens there. There's one of these, and then it was a cooler morning, so check it out. Got the breath on that one. It's hard to see because of the crazy bokeh of the background, so in hindsight, I wish I had maybe moved to try and find a darker background, but he didn't stay long, and it had to be, you had to shoot sort of in this direction just to get the backlit look and get the breath there. So this was one of the times where it would have been nicer for me to have a little bit of a longer focal length instead of being stuck at 105mm, but check it out. You can just see the breath just like falling right out of it there. And then I played with one of these like silhouettes like that, put him right in the sun after he was singing there. Some more smaller in frame stuff, just really trying to have some fun with that lens and that shallow, super shallow depth of field look. So there we go. It came in closer for this one. Nice kind of closer portrait for 105mm. Not bad, huh? Pretty cool. I remember, yeah, I found this nest. This was right where I had parked. So this parking spot, I would meet people there to start going out to photograph some of these birds. And while I was waiting, I would usually arrive earlier because I would stay in the area, you know. And I noticed this redstart. I don't know if I saw her building the nest or the male coming in and out or what, but found this nest. It was challenging to shoot, but ended up getting a few shots that worked out quite nicely. And then back to another Veery here. Just love these guys. They're one of my favorite thrushes to work with. They just have such character. I love those warm tones on them, like the warmer, kind of just a nice pleasing brown on them. And that ground habitat is just kind of fun, you know, because you're not staring up at the trees at them like most other warbler species and stuff. Not that they're a warbler, but back to some more black-throated or Blackburnian, tougher light, but just trying to play with some textures and openings. And then this one, I remember this. I was with a great friend of mine, Patty. We were up there photographing these birds, and this particular spot, we found this stump and we were just like, oh my gosh, and this black-throated green was hanging around there. So we spent some time just working on this, trying to shoot down the length of it and really getting some interesting stuff. Again, I was back with that 105mm lens there, and then he popped up on that spotlit thing. And that was it. The sun kept changing. Like you can see, there's no sun on this spot right there. Then all of a sudden it would poke through, I think it was like on and off sunny clouds. And then the sun would come out, and man, like you're just praying like that bird will go in the right spot then, you know, and thankfully it did, and just got a really, really interesting look here. Dialed in a good chunk of negative exposure compensation to kind of take that image a little bit darker and make him pop out in that spotlight. But yeah, and also this was one of those years where we were definitely dealing with some of the forest fire smoke from, I think, forest fires up in Canada and stuff that were blowing down. And so it made some really interesting wild lighting conditions some of these days. Back to another cerulean. I love how he's nestled in these leaves like that. And this is getting later in the season. You can see these leaves are starting to get a little bit larger. Not quite that tiny, fresh spring growth anymore, but still everything just so bright and vibrant and vivid. And it's just it is an amazing time to be in the forest, spending time with these incredible birds, these little jewels of the forest. Here's a black-throated green. So, you know, shooting some tighter, closer portraits like that, showing off the bird, and then really trying to zoom out and show off this beautiful forest habitat that they live in, but still making the birds stand out, you know. And this is where overcast light is just absolutely my friend, you know, able to not have really bad hot spots and bright spots and shadows and stuff like that. So a good time. Super friendly chestnut-sided warbler. This individual was like game on every time I would go see him. I would take a bunch of different people to see this individual, and he would just put on a show, sit there and sing for you. This was what was this flycatcher? Willow flycatcher. There we go. Really, really pretty bird. Got to photograph him a few different ways there, which was really nice. Pine warbler up there, I think. I'm not sure what this guy was, but another one of these trying to shoot up sort of images. Looks like a female cerulean. So went darker for this one and then lighter for this one. Again, all of these at 105mm. So I don't know. I shot that lens a lot. I guess I was really enjoying it. This one's kind of cool. I don't like these kind of pieces right there, those branches right there, but the rest of it, man, the bird just stands out of the dark. And this is kind of indicative of how it looks there too. Like these dark hemlock forests just have these huge areas of just, it's almost hard to see into. It's so dark. And then you get these little pockets of light from the open forest above. And if you can get the birds out in those pockets of light and expose for them, the background can go just super dark and moody like that. Another beautiful, stunning bird, not a warbler, but a beautiful songbird of the northern New Jersey forest, these indigo buntings, just playing around with some interesting leaves there. And here's one of the times I was out scouting. I do a ton of scouting on my mountain bike when I'm in these areas. I can cover so much more territory, and like I said earlier, all I'm doing is listening for the birds. And so I don't really need to be walking around looking and everything. I don't even use binoculars. I just do it all by sound. And so I would just get on my bike and ride. And this was one of the views where I got up. I had ridden this trail up to the top of a mountain and got to see this beautiful view up there. Surprise bird one day out looking for warblers, but a great blue heron over this beautiful river stream down the mountain, and just couldn't resist taking the photo of him. Got a lovely eastern towhee there. And then I think this was nearing the end of this particular spring before I went to Quebec. Which, if you haven't seen the video of some of these Quebec warblers, check that out. I've already done one of these in this series on that. But yeah, this cerulean warbler was really, really nice. Just getting them down in the ferns and everything like that was a really fun time. And that kind of wrapped it up. Yeah, he ended up coming in and grabbing some stuff, some food there, and showing off. They are a stunning species, so it's understandable why people really want to see these guys. And they're not particularly easy to find. Once you learn about them, they can be really easy to find, but if you don't know much about the species and the habitat and where to find them, they can certainly be a challenge. But it is kind of neat knowing that, you know, pretty much anytime I want. If I wanted to go see a cerulean warbler in the spring, I know right where I can go in New Jersey into the right habitats and just basically all but guarantee finding them, you know, if I'm there at the right time of year. Back to some chestnut-sided, some blue-winged warbler. Love it in these flowering fields like that. Just looks great. And then, oh, the light on this one was great. I love it. I love getting the yellow background that kind of ties into that little yellow cap on him. This guy, not the best of plumage. He's a little spotty there, but still a good looking bird, isn't he? Yeah, they are stunners, these guys. So always so chunky and feisty. They're always just like real friendly. I don't know why. I feel like I can always get close to chestnut-sided warbler. Ceruleans, on the other hand, are always a bit more of a challenge. So that was the end of that season. Just take you guys back to here's some of the favorites from this spring of 2023. Thank you guys so much for joining me on another episode of Wildlife with Ray. If you have any other outings that I've done in the past that I haven't done these on and you want to see that, just let me know in the comments or shoot me a message and I'll be sure to do that in the future. Other than that, I'll just keep picking out some fun different trips, either individual trips or overall seasons like this that kind of have a theme, and putting some of these out because I've been getting some great feedback. So thank you so much, everybody.